Welcome guys, it's me OGDuffy, and I was contacted again by BBC Radio 4 to take part in a recent show. So anyway, I was in work, my mobile phone's on my desk, starts ringing. Look at it, there's a phone number there, I don't recognise it, unrecognised. Now whenever I get these calls, it's either a rich man from abroad that wants to send me loads of diamonds because he can't bank them his end and he'll give me the money later, or it's someone selling me a dodgy insurance or a phone contract. But anyway, we digress. So I answered the phone very reluctantly. I had, hello? Quite rude, really. Is that Rob Duffy? OG Duffy? Yeah? My tone changes ever so slightly. This is Dave from BBC Radio 4. He said, do you remember me? We did that. Oh, yeah, how you doing, mate? Blah, blah, blah. Small talk. Happy days, me thinks. Anyway, he says, I've got a show going out on Monday, and I'd really need your input on an article we're doing all about physical media. So would you like to take part? Of course, I said. When are you available for me to record? I said, well, about now. He said, hold on, I need time to prepare. I'll call you in 20 minutes. So anyway, when I made a cup of coffee, he called me back, and this was the result, guys. Anyway, I'm going to play you the whole article, which was probably about 10-12 minutes in total. And while you're watching that or listening to that article, I'll put some game footage on, like a little compilation. So you've got something to look at while you're listening to the show. It's all about physical media and its potential demise, but we'll come to that at the very end. And also, it was very nice, at the top of the programme, it's all about consumer and consumer rights and stuff. They used OGDuffy's voice in like the teaser right at the beginning of the show. So happy days there, guys.
Hello, welcome to Radio 4's Consumer Programme. Today, water bills are rising by more than inflation. Are you happy with the service you get from your water company? Why some gamers would really miss hunting for games in old formats in high street stores.
What the buzz is about CEX is every sort of town in the UK now has one. Pop in and the stock will be completely different from store to store. So you just never know what you're going to find, and that's what I love.
Anyway, I'm going to play you the show now, and then at the end we'll come back and have a chat, and I'll be really interested to hear your thoughts on this debate all about physical media, and is it actually dead? Unfortunately, it's not looking good. Here we go.
For gamers, buying a new or a used computer game on a disc or a card can be a really exciting thing. Going to a local shop to do it, somewhere like Game or CEX Entertainment Exchange, is a big treat. But might these physical copies of games disappear from sale the same way that films did on video and on DVD? UKI, the trade body for the UK games industry, says there has been a 60% decline in sales of physical copies of computer and video games. That's since 2012. People download games now, and there are also subscription services. If you want to try lots of new games, you can sign up to one of them. We spoke to 3 gamers about the way they buy their games, present and past.
Did you get a video game for Christmas? Did you get any game cartridges to play on it? Well, get down to Toys R Us for the world's biggest range of video games.
I'm OGDuffy. I'm a YouTuber, retro game collector and hunter of all physical media. In terms of buying physical games, I mean, now, in terms of high streets, I mean, you've got Game, they're still on the high street. How much longer they last is, I don't know, but it's down to supermarkets now, and they will literally only release the sort of very latest games, and then 2 or 3 months in, you'll start to see them disappear off the shelves. So the shelf life of the new games is not as much as it used to be, and the places where you can go to buy brand new physical media as it's released is reducing. Physical games for me, I always go for sort of the older titles anyway. So all the online places, obviously your Vintage or eBay, I still trade and use them. But my main source is currently probably CEX stores. They do a great range. And what the buzz is about CEX is every sort of town in the UK now has one. Pop in and the stock will be completely different from store to store. So it's the thrill of the hunt in a way still, you know. You just never know what you're going to find, and that's what I love.
What have these 3 fun lovers got in common? Yes! They all traded in their games and gadgets at sex. Money.
My name's Eleanor Watts. I'm a freelance opera singer. I've been playing video games in some form since I think I was about 6 or 7 years old. When it comes to buying physical games, really what it feels like the two options are either online through sort of Amazon or in stores such as CEX. Trading shops and pre-owned give me the opportunity to buy the games that I want and the games I've been looking forward to without necessarily having to pay like the full price on the day of release. It does bother me that there's less places to buy physical games when I'm looking for older systems. I have a digital-only console now for the PS5, but it was the only one I could get my hands on. And with that, I don't have a choice. But oddly, that means I buy less things for it because I have to be a little bit more conscious. But I still miss that physical feeling of holding like the box in your hand and having a place for it on a shelf.
Hate being reminded you could have bought your game cheaper pre-owned. Then go to Game Station, you ninny, and pay less for top-notch games.
I'm Chris Arrowsmith. I've been gaming since I was very little and have done it my whole life. Now at the age of 30, still doing it now. I would get a collection of games, and then when something new would come out, I would sort of nag my mum to take me down to, I think it was Game we did it at a lot, just to get rid of all the stuff that I don't play anymore and then get the new thing. I haven't done it for a very, very long time. I myself have moved to the more digital-owned stuff. So I would say I haven't done it maybe for like 10, 15 years, maybe, perhaps. I think it's more ease of access now, as opposed to needing to go down to the shop. Everything is just available for me on the internet. It's right there as soon as I want it. It's so much easier. I used to really enjoy owning the actual physical copies. I remember being in the back of my mum's car when we'd get something when I was younger and just reading the manual on the way home, and obviously that's not a thing anymore. But it's a shame. It is a shame, but I think it's also a good sign of the way everything in the industry is advancing, and it's just the future now.
That was in the order that you heard them: Rob Duffy, Ellie Watts and Chris Arrowsmith. I can certainly remember taking my son to swap games and buy games. Well, there are some people who think that there will always be enough demand for that, for physical copies of games, that physical copies of games will always be made and sold. George Perkins is the founder of Super Rare Games. Now, it negotiates with the game makers to release limited runs of their games, which are just digital, but onto cards. And Keith Stewart is a gaming correspondent for The Guardian. Welcome to you both. Keith, if I could start with you. Those gamers mentioned a lack of options now sometimes for buying physical games. Game sadly announced it's going to stop selling these pre-owned games. Is that the end of the market for physical games, do you think?
No, I don't think so. I think what we're likely to see is the market very much becoming a kind of a niche concern. I think what we are going to see the end of is the big games, the kind of FIFAs and Call of Duties coming out on physical copies and being sold in large chain stores like Game. I think that is going to slowly die out for the next few years, I think. But if you look at what we're seeing in the vinyl records industry, is that we're seeing a lot more kind of niche vinyl records being sold and distributed to collectors and enthusiasts. And I think that's what we're going to see with games. I think we're going to maybe even see a revival of independent game stores on a small number of high streets selling kind of special editions and collector's editions by companies like Super Rare, Limited Run, First Press Games. You know, these are all specialists in producing games for a kind of small, dedicated enthusiast base.
Well, we've got George Perkins from Super Rare Games with us. So, George, you set up this company in 2018, even though today 9 out of 10 computer games are sold as digital downloads. So why did you do that?
Yeah, I think it comes down to the fact that when you really love something, actually just seeing it as an icon on your screen of your Nintendo Switch or your PlayStation, you don't have a feeling of attachment towards it. I think we see with the vinyl comeback that actually people like to own their things. They like to have a shelf full of their favorite records, and it's the same with video games. Owning your favorite games and being able to display them and show them off to the world, I think, is a really beautiful feeling. And, you know, being able to have other associated products alongside the game. So what we do is we often have I don't know, art books or vinyl soundtracks or, maybe small things to do with the game. And I think owning those things is a feeling which, whilst it might be a niche feeling, that feeling will always exist if there is fan service among video games, which, there should always be, really.
You go to the manufacturers and you ask them if they'll be interested in working with you to create these versions of the games that you can hold in your hand. How much does that add to the cost compared with a download only?
Yeah, so it has the reason why people aren't doing physical versions is because of the risk of it. The cost of goods is so high in comparison just to releasing a game digitally. The short kind of answer is that it is more profitable to do a digital release versus a physical, but if you do it in the right way, physical can still be a very profitable business. It just has to be kind of seen as a different, from a different perspective. So for us, it's always about, it's a collector's item. It's a way of remembering and preserving your favorite game. So we work very closely with the developers of these games to, create items that really mean something to them and to their fan base as well.
So you'd have been taking a gamble, obviously, in setting this company up. Tell us what business has been like since you opened.
Yeah, so I mean, over the last kind of 5-6 years, it's been really good. We've seen a real positive kind of spike in what we're doing. We have got to work with some of my favorite developers from all around the world. So yeah, it's been a kind of a consistent uptick, really. There's definitely been a bit of a plateau over the last couple of years, but I think that's understandable. We live in a kind of post-COVID world where, cost of living is incredibly expensive. But yeah, we're still seeing a really consistent demand for physical versions of games. It's just, again, more in kind of what Keith was saying, where it's a niche kind of real fan service. You really love this game and that's why you want to own it physically.
So you think that the kind of plateauing off is not to do with a plateauing off in demand, that everyone who wants their kind of collectible game has got it. You just think it's cost of living squeeze?
Yeah, I mean, I think with kind of the games we're working on, we're still seeing the demand per title is literally just the people not buying isn't because they don't want to own physical products. It's just because of their personal situations. So yeah, we're still seeing a steady demand for physical. It's not tailed off. I think it's more on the mass market level, the big massive games that we're seeing that kind of that decline. And the reason why is that there's no convenience of actually owning a physical version unless you're doing it from like a fan service perspective, where you're actually receiving all these amazing kind of additional things that really make you feel something towards that game and really kind of, elevate your experience, of the game you played.
Keith Stewart from The Guardian, if this is the way the market goes, you made a comparison earlier with vinyl records, won't the games producers start to do this for themselves? I mean, won't they either just push Super Rare Games out of business or buy it up? If there's money to be had in it, they'll take it, won't they?
I'm not sure, because I think it's quite a specialist thing. And again, I'll use vinyl as an example. A lot of the companies, yeah, you'll get the bigger record companies that will make the vinyl records themselves, but in the niche markets you have very specialist vinyl manufacturers and distributors and makers who are experts at creating the kind of value around this sort of this disc. So what companies like Super Rare and Limited Run do is they produce lovely manuals, posters, other artifacts, and they're experts in doing that, and they know exactly what their market wants. So I think there's always going to be these kind of niche micro industries around physical media, whether that's video games, vinyl, or even books now, novels nowadays. I think that's always going to be there. If you look at like the DVD, the Blu-ray market, you said that's kind of died, and in some ways it has, but you also have specialist producers like Arrow, Artificial Eye, Criterion that produce beautiful collectible goods that the big industry, the big names in the industries just don't have the time, the resources, the knowledge base to do that sort of thing. So it's actually better for them to outsource that to expert providers, and I think that's kind of a lovely thing. It's lovely to have
Thank you. That was Keith Stewart from The Guardian and George Perkins from Super Rare Games. And George, yes, best of luck to you with your business.
So guys, What did you think of that? It was an interesting concept. I mean, it was great of them to come back to me and ask me to participate, so I was well happy with that. And to be honest, there's some valid points in there, you know. Can we see physical media surviving? I think in relation to new releases, eventually you won't get them, like your CODs, your Call of Duties, them sort of big AAA titles that will just be coming download. Which is now, let's be honest, some consoles you buy now are digital only. You can't even put physical media in them if you wanted to. So that really does tell you the way forward, the future. Not just that, these businesses can save an awful lot of money and knock that onto their profit margins by not producing the physical media. Obviously, if it's just a digital only download, they haven't got to give you a CD, for example. They don't have to do a package design. They don't have to do the plastic it comes in and all that sort of stuff. So there's a saving there for the companies. Obviously, they've still got to do the artwork and stuff to promote it, but I personally cannot see a future for physical media. I think it will die. Unfortunately, or fortunately, people like myself and many of you out there have been collecting this media for a long, long time, so we have plenty of it. But that gets us onto the whole new thing, the whole new realm of disc rot and all this sort of stuff. How long is this media going to stay relevant in relation to this disc rot and discs failing and stuff like that? It's an absolute... it's a minefield, isn't it, guys? But I think physical media has died, or is on its way out. It will still live on with CEX and places like that, as I point out, because there's always collectors like myself and you guys out there, and obviously with cartridge games and things, they're still living very nicely. So yeah, it's a whole new debate. I mean, you've got the guys that they mentioned there that are reproducing these games, which is great for the collectors, but it's still not the original, is it? It's still, you know, I mean, they can go back and recreate, I don't know, I'm looking at my shelf over there, so say, for example, Return of the Jedi on the Super Nintendo, they can go back and reproduce that and make a lovely collector's box edition, and I might be interested, but it's still not going to be the original, is it? It's a real quandary, guys. But anyway, this is just a little bonus video for you guys. As you know, I drop videos on a Tuesday and a Friday, always 6 PM. But this come up and I thought you guys might be interested. So anyway, your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about this physical media? What do you think about what was said on that show? I mean, some people are in favour of going digital. They don't want the hassle of the physical items lying about. Madness to me and you maybe, but hey, not to everybody. Let's be honest, some people are very minimalistic. They don't like a lot of clutter. They like everything clear and spatial and everything nice. But to me, having all my media around me is even nicer. So from the OGDuffy to you guys, let me have your comments, please, and your thoughts. You don't have to agree with me. Please feel free to disagree. We're a nice community on here. We're not nasty. We do it in the right way. So jump on board, guys. If you don't already do so, hit subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little bonus video. Anyway, till the next one, people, this beer is for you, as always. But those that watch already know that. Laters.